Okay, so this company, this is what they have. They have 3 different software: software A, software B, and software C. A, B, C. So what happens now is they need to decide which one of the softwares they're going to purchase, right? Because it's not just about the capital costs, but it's also the long running costs in terms of the volume of maybe the volume of material that they have to push out from each of the software is going to become important. So their capital costs, and then you have their variable costs. Now, usually when you have a low capital cost, your variable cost is going to be high because you bought sometimes it's a smaller piece of equipment, so you don't produce as much as when you have a large piece of equipment, which you'd have spent more money for, and your variable cost is going to be reduced. So they've given you their software A, its capital cost is $200,000 with a variable cost of $60. Right? So every print they print is $60. Let's just say it's a print, right? And for this one, the capital cost is $300,000, and the variable cost $25. And for software C, their capital cost is, or fixed cost, anyone you want to call it, fixed cost is $400,000, and variable cost is just $10. So you need to know what is your crossover point, at which point you would want to use software A, at which point you want to use software B, and at which point you want to use software C. So what it is you have what's called a crossover point. That looks something like this, where you have one curve would be like that, the other curve could be like that, and then the other curve is a much flatter curve. So the steeper curve is going to be the one that has a high variable cost, which is a 60, but it also have a low capital cost, right? So this could be A, this one will be B, and this one could be C. So watch this. You need to know what volume, because on the y-axis is volume or number, anyone you want to call it. Number of paper that you need, but we'll just call it volume for now so you can understand, right? And here is the dollar figure, right? So your capital cost here is the 200,000, right? 200,000. Capital cost here is your 300,000, and here is your 400,000, right? Because these are your capital costs, your initial costs, right? So even before you start producing anything in terms of volume, you have to spend this money for the different softwares. Okay? Why do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Now you want to know, here is what's called your crossover point. Here is what's called your crossover point also. So crossover point is the point that software A crosses software B. So anything in here, it's best in terms of volume, it's best to use software A because it's cheaper. Your initial cost was cheaper, right? So any volume between 0 and this crossover point, you're going to choose software A or process A. Anywhere between this point, right, which is your B point now, I'm going to call this V1, volume 1. Any point between V1 and we're going to call this V2, you're going to use process B. And anything beyond, any amount, large volumes below, beyond V2, you're going to use process C. Question is, how do you find V1 and V2? That's the question. So here's the thing. At this point, V1, your total cost for A and the total cost for B is equal. You see that? They cross over, so they're equal at that point. Yeah? At that point, your total cost for software A and software B is equal. So you know that total cost is equal to your fixed cost. Fixed and capital are interchangeable, all right? Fixed cost plus your variable costs times the volume or the number. Because remember, your variable cost increases as the number of widgets that you make increase. So it's going to be, we can call this V1 is where you need to find, or V times the variable cost. I'll just put variable cost. V is volume, but it's basically the number of widgets that you're making. Let's call it numbers then. It's a V is the same as numbers because it's volume, and volume, by volume, we're not talking about a liter or water or anything. We're talking about the volume of products that you make, the number of products that you make. All right, everybody cool with that? So we're not, so make sure we're clear.
Yes, sir.
All right. You understand that your total cost is equal to your fixed cost plus the number of units that you make times your variable cost?
Yes, sir.
All right, so fine. So let's hit it then. So for software A, it's going to be, the total cost is going to be 200,000 plus, and we say it must be V1 times $60. That must be equal to your total cost for B, which is now 300,000 plus, should I interchange them? I don't want you guys get mixed up. Your 300,000 plus V1, right, times the number, times the cost per unit, which is $25. So let's bracket this so we're not getting confused and we know what we're talking about. So this fixed cost plus your total variable cost, right? That's your total cost. Here again, it's your fixed cost plus your total variable cost, which is V1, the number of widgets you're going to make, times how much each widget costs, right? So then we just solve. So 200,000 plus, you can call it 60V is the same thing. 60V1 is equal to 300,000 plus 25V1. Everybody see that? That's simple. All I did is just put it on the other side for, you know, what we're familiar with working out. So if we take this over here, this would be 100,000. You carry the 200,000 over here, so it negative, so it minuses, and you bring the 25 over here, and this will be what? How much plus that give you 35? I mean, 25 minus 60 is what? 35?
35, sir.
Right. So then your V1 is going to be 100,000 divided by 35, which is, what is that?
$2,857. 57.
All right. So your V1 is 2,000. Space. All right. Let me try and clean this up. Your V1 is going to be 2,000.
Andrew, the TV is too high, Andrew.
857. That's the V1, right? So
Andrew,
if you're producing between 0 and 2,857, process you need to choose is process A, or software A, right? Anything beyond that, to this point, V2 is process B, so you need to find V2 also. To find V2, anybody have any ideas for V2? What ideas are we trying V2? take this off because my board is small. It's like my home whiteboard. So you're gonna screenshot that, screenshot it. Can I take this off now? And let's find V2.
No, sir.
No,
That's
sir.
the
No,
one.
sir. Not yet.
Screenshot. If you remember, is at this point, software A and software B, their total cost is equal. That's what allows you to be able to solve for B1. That's what's important.
Andrew, share my damn little dish. I can't go work.
Martin, mute your mic.
And Martin is being recorded talking about that dish. Let him take to work. So I'm putting this on YouTube, Martin.
So, sir, because B and the C is at the same point, would we just basically work it the same way with just B and C instead of B and A?
Exactly. That's where C and B intersect. You guys did the decision science already, right?
No, sir.
Oh,
Yes,
I
sir.
keep asking you that. So we did this, we'll be doing this in linear programming. Where two lines cross, but you did it in high school anyways. And that's why you could solve for simultaneous equations and all that kind of stuff. I'm taking this off now, or we're good? Can we take this off now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
All right. So we found V1. Now we need to find V2. Again, it's the same thing. It's where B and C intersect. So B, the total cost for B is going to be fixed cost 300,000 plus what's the variable cost for B? 25 against a 25 V2 now, because we know it must be V2, is equal to 400,000 plus 10 V2. Take that over, you get 15 V2 is equal to 100,000. So V2 is equal to that's 66666.
Sir, you're gonna put that over 15.
Yeah.
I got
But
it.
I think you would know that. No, I
6,600.
kind of think you would kind of know that. So I didn't bother.
Sir, the answer
Yes,
is
sir. I got
6.666.
6,666.
How much can be 6 point? It's
No,
six.
sir.
6,666.
Right. So
Yeah.
V2
Yeah.
is 6,666. So here's how we interpret this now. And we're going to go back to the book, the presentation. So if you're making between 0 and 2008-57, you're going to choose software A. See it there? Right? Software A. If you're making between 2008-57 and 6,666, you're going to use software B or process B for that matter. And anything greater than 6,666, you have to use the software C or process C. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Great.
Okay, sir.
All right, we're going to head back over now. All right, so I hope that helped. All right, so we're back. So this is the same example that's in your text. We don't need to complicate things, right? You guys are hearing me?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
That was in your text, so you'll be able to follow your text now and understand it even better. All right, so here it is. Same thing that they did, we basically did. We got the same answers they did, right? But on a graph, which is probably what you're gonna have to sort out for me, I might just send you this question and tell you need to plot the crossover points. What I'm saying to you is, to plot the crossover points, once you know your V1 and your V2, so you still have to do the calculations to know your V1 and your V2, you will know what your fixed costs are, right? Because you're gonna be given those, right? But what you need to do is draw these lines. So how do you draw these lines? So for A, you know, you have 1 point. You know, to draw a straight line, you only need 2 points, right? Yeah?
Yes,
So
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
right, you have this 200 point here, which is your fixed cost, and you have V1. So you just 1 point here, 1 point here, and you can draw an extrapolated line for your total cost, right? For B, you have your fixed cost here, and you know that it must cross over here with V1 again. So you just boom, extrapolate. And for the C line, basically, you know it's V2 it's gonna hit, but you know you have to start at your fixed cost. So you start at the fixed cost and draw your line, and you're good to go. Easy, don't? Yes, no?
Sir, I'm gonna catch it fully, but I will.
No, what you don't catch, you're going to draw the graph, right? You're given these points, you know, you're given the 200 fixed cost, the 300 the fixed cost, and the 400 the fixed cost, because you need to know how you're going to graduate this dollar, this dollar y-axis, right? Let me, in a second. Stop recording. Yeah.